Boxing's beautiful, brutal, and sometimes deadly. Tonight, we're diving into 7 tragic moments when the sweet science turned fatal. Moments that changed the sport forever. These aren't just statistics, they're warriors who paid the ultimate price doing what they loved. Buckle up, because this one hits hard. We're talking about men who walked into that ring knowing the risks, who fought through pain that would drop normal people, and whose final battles left families devastated and prompted massive safety reforms. From rule changes to medical protocols, their sacrifices shaped modern boxing. This is their story. Number 7. Maxim Dashev, 2019, the fighter who wouldn't quit. July 19th, 2019. The theater at MGM National Harbor in Maryland. Russian light welterweight Maxim Dashev was getting pummeled by Subriel Matias. And here's the thing about fighters, they don't know when to quit. Dashev had taken 319 punches by the time his trainer, Buddy McGirt, made one of the gutsiest calls in boxing history. After round 11, McGirt literally pleaded with his fighter, "Max, please, let me stop it." When Dashev shook his head no, McGirt told the ref, "That's it." The 28-year-old warrior walked out of the ring on his own power, but collapsed backstage. 4 days later, after emergency brain surgery to relieve swelling, Dashev died. His record stood at 13-1, with that one loss costing him everything. What makes this even more heartbreaking? Dashev left behind a wife and son. The boxing world lost a rising star who was just months away from a world title shot. Sometimes the bravest thing a fighter can do is live to fight another day. McGirt later said stopping the fight was the hardest decision he'd ever made, but he'd do it again. The Maryland State Athletic Commission praised McGirt's actions, noting that his intervention likely prevented Dashev from taking even more devastating damage in what would have been round 12. Number 6. Patrick Day, 2019, 4 Days of Fighting. October 12, 2019, just 3 months after Dasashev's death, boxing suffered another devastating loss. Patrick Day, a 27-year-old junior middleweight from Freeport, New York, stepped into the ring at Wintrust Arena in Chicago to face Charles Conwell. Day wasn't just a fighter, he was a 2012 U.S. Olympic alternate with a degree from Queensborough Community College. Smart, skilled, and determined. But Conwell dropped him hard in rounds 4, 8, and 10. That final knockdown, Day's head bounced off the canvas with a sickening thud. He was rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital for emergency brain surgery. For 4 days, the boxing world held its breath. On October 16th, Patrick Day lost his final fight. Conwell was devastated. He wrote an open letter to Day saying, "All I wanted to do was win. If I could take it all back, I would." Day's promoter Lou DiBella summed it up. He didn't want to be a drug dealer. He didn't want to hustle on the streets. He wanted to be a world champion. The fight was Day's first at super welterweight, moving up from his usual 154 pounds. His record stood at 17-4-1 with 6 knockouts. Boxing lost not only a fighter, but a role model who spent his free time mentoring young boxers in Long Island gyms. Before we move on to the next one, we'd like to ask you a small favor. If you're enjoying this content so far, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch these videos without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. Thanks to all you who do. Number 5. Leander Johnson, 2005, the champion who walked away. September 17th, 2005, MGM Grand, Las Vegas. Leander Johnson had waited 16 years for this moment. His first defense of the IBF lightweight title he'd finally captured at age 35. Johnson ate everything Jesus Chavez threw at him for 11 brutal rounds. When referee Tony Weeks finally stopped it, Johnson walked out of the ring under his own power. Nobody saw it coming. Minutes later, while walking to his dressing room, he started dragging his left foot. Then he collapsed. "My head, Willie, my head, it hurts something awful," he cried to his trainer before losing consciousness. Emergency brain surgery revealed massive bleeding. At first, doctors were optimistic. Johnson was a warrior, after all. But a second blood clot changed everything. 5 days later, with his 4 children at his bedside, Leander Johnson passed away. His death led to major rule changes in Nevada. Heavier gloves, mandatory hydration tests, 3 ringside positions. Since 2005, no boxer has died in a Nevada ring. Johnson's sacrifice literally saved lives. Before the fight, Johnson had said, "I'm willing to die in the ring." His trainer and father Bill Johnson returned to training fighters after initially stepping away, saying Leander kept fighting right to the end, and I know he would want me to do the same thing. Johnson's professional record ended at 34-5-2 with 26 knockouts. Number 4. Johnny Owen, 1980, the Matchstick Man. They called him the Matchstick Man because at 5'3" and rail thin, Johnny Owen looked like he'd snap in half. But this pale skinny kid from Wales had the heart of a lion. September 19th, 1980, Olympic Auditorium, Los Angeles. Owen challenged Mexican champion Lupe Pintor for the WBC bantamweight title. The hostile crowd pelted Owen's corner with beer and worse, but for 8 rounds, the Welshman shocked everyone, cutting Pintor over both eyes and leading on the scorecards. Then came round 9. Pintor dropped Owen for the first time in his career. In round 12, a vicious right hand sent Owen crashing down. His head bounced off the bottom rope, the injury that probably killed him. Owen never woke up. After 46 days in a coma and 2 brain surgeries, Johnny Owen died on November 4th. He was just 24. Here's the class act part. Owen's family sent messages of support to Pintor, telling him to keep boxing. 22 years later, Pintor flew to Wales to unveil a statue of Owen in his hometown. Some things transcend sports. Owen's gravestone bears the Welsh inscription translating to "a true son of Wales." His professional record was 25-2-1 with 11 knockouts. The savage LA crowd had thrown cups of urine at Owen's corner as they carried him out, a shameful display that haunted American boxing. Number 3, Duku Kim, 1982, the fight that changed everything. November 13th, 1982, Caesars Palace, Las Vegas. Korean challenger Kim Duku gave WBA lightweight champion Ray Boom Boom Mancini absolute hell for 13 rounds. This wasn't supposed to be competitive. Kim was a late replacement, virtually unknown outside Korea. But Kim fought like a man possessed. By round 14, both fighters were exhausted, throwing bombs of pure willpower. When Mancini connected with a straight right that sent Kim crashing to the canvas, he beat the count but was done. Mancini had retained his title. In his dressing room, Kim collapsed into a coma. 4 days later, he was gone. His mother flew from Korea to turn off life support, then took her own life 3 months later. The referee, Richard Green, committed suicide 8 months after the fight. This tragedy changed boxing forever. World title fights were reduced from 15 to 12 rounds. It's called the Kim Rule, and it saved countless lives. Sometimes the most important legacies come from the darkest moments. Kim's pregnant girlfriend gave birth to their son after his death. Before the fight, Kim had written "kill or be killed" on a lampshade in his hotel room. The Nevada State Athletic Commission instituted mandatory brain scans after this tragedy. Mancini was never the same fighter again, haunted by that night for the rest of his career. Number 2, Davy Moore, 1963. Who killed Davy Moore? March 21st, 1963, Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles. Featherweight champion Davy Moore defended against Cuban exile Sugar Ramos in front of 26,000 screaming fans. Moore had held the title for 4 years. At 29, he was planning to fight 2 more years, then retire to enjoy his wife's cooking. Ramos dropped Moore 3 times in round 10. The final knockdown saw Moore's head snap back violently against the bottom rope. The referee stopped it. Moore gave a clear-headed interview. "I'll take the rematch, you better believe it." An hour later, Moore grabbed his head. "My head, Willie, it hurts something awful." He collapsed and never regained consciousness. 3 days later, on March 25th, Davy Moore was dead. Bob Dylan wrote a protest song asking who killed Davy Moore. Pope John XXIII called boxing barbaric. The sport was pulled from regular TV for over a decade. Moore's death, combined with what happened to Benny Peret, nearly killed boxing itself. Moore left behind his wife Geraldine and 5 children. He'd been a 1952 Olympic boxer for the U.S. The fight was part of a historic triple-header of world title fights, the first ever at Dodger Stadium. ABC canceled its weekly boxing program the following year, citing Moore's death as a factor. Number 1, Benny Peret, 1962, the death seen by millions. March 24th, 1962, Madison Square Garden, ABC's Fight of the Week. Millions watching live on TV. What they witnessed haunts boxing to this day. Benny "Kid" Peret was defending his welterweight title against Emil Griffith for the 3rd time. At the morning weigh-in, Peret had taunted Griffith, calling him maricon, a Spanish slur for homosexual. In 1962, that could end a career. Griffith had to be held back. The fight was brutal from the start. In round 12, Griffith trapped Peret in the corner and unleashed hell. 29 consecutive punches, 18 in 6 seconds. Peret was unconscious on his feet, held up only by the ropes as Griffith's fists found their target again and again. When referee Ruby Goldstein finally stopped it, Peret collapsed. He never woke up. 10 days later, on April 3rd, Benny Peret died from massive brain hemorrhaging. He was 25, with a wife and 2 kids. The footage is still the most disturbing knockout in boxing history. Griffith was haunted by nightmares for 40 years. He couldn't find peace until 2005 when he finally met Peret's son, who embraced him and said, "You're forgiven." Referee Ruby Goldstein never worked another major fight, letting his license lapse despite being officially cleared of wrongdoing. Norman Mailer, who was ringside, wrote that Peret's brain was knocked completely loose from his skull. Griffith went on to become a 5-time world champion, but carried the weight of that night forever. These 7 warriors reminded us that boxing isn't just a sport, it's life and death in the squared circle. Between 1890 and 2011, 1,604 boxers died from ring injuries. That's 13 deaths per year. Today's safety measures, 12-round limits, better medical care, mandatory brain scans, exist because of their sacrifice. They knew the risks. They climbed through those ropes anyways. Because for guys from the streets, from poverty, from nothing, boxing was their shot at glory, and they were willing to die for it. If this hit you as hard as it hit me, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. We tell the stories that matter, the ones that shaped the sport we love. These men deserve to be remembered. Peace out, fight fans. Stay safe out there, and remember, every time a referee stops a fight early, every time a corner throws in the towel, they might be saving a life. These 7 deaths changed boxing forever, implementing reforms that protect today's fighters. Their legacy lives on in every safety protocol, every medical check, every precaution that keeps our modern warriors alive.